Man, what's up, Moy?
What's the deal?
I feel like I see you every single day, but
we do. We work together.
But it's good to see you in this setting.
It's nice.
You in a big velvety chair, and
you like it?
Yeah.
Well, normally we're kind of divided by this wall because you're always in your office and I'm always in my office. Yeah. So I agree. It's nice to see you.
But we knocking down walls. We breaking barriers.
We freaking breaking them down.
No limit, right?
No limit, baby.
That's right.
No limit.
We're here for a special cause today, and we have a special guest, right?
Mm-hmm. Special guest.
Before introducing them, you know, this is January 2022. It's kind of crazy to say that, right?
Time flies.
Time does fly.
For sure.
The past 2 years have kind of been a blur.
Yes.
In between all that, we've done our best to continue to do what we do, right? Mm-hmm. Which, to summarize it, I guess, is to put on for this culture which we love of Breakin. We started with the Championship Series 2021. That's the first official one last year. Well, I guess first thing, what can you say in retrospect, man, from your perspective as founder of Break Free and our events last year?
Yeah, I think last year, I think we really took a big dive into just going head first on just trying to create something big for the community. I think coming off of 2020, which that year doesn't even exist for certain people, you know, and then for some other people that were really heavily impacted in so many different ways, of course it exists. So I didn't want to come off that way, but it was such a weird year that it was important for us to kind of go heavy and go strong and continue to build platforms, something that Break Free, I believe, is really good at in providing opportunities. And so I know when you and I discussed and we sat down with the team and discussed about creating this series that is connected and makes people feel connected as the series progresses, that's something that we wanted to create and do. And so I think it was important for us to do it. I think that was kind of laying out the foundation for taking a different approach with events and a different approach for Break Free overall, because we've done events for 10 years in the past, but I think this solidified a much more high-level event production. Yeah. And we really catered to making it a point that B-boys and B-girls are treated equally and fair.
Valuable.
And that they're valued through this process. So I just think that it was an awesome thing that we did. A lot of learning opportunities for us, but it has definitely inspired us to move forward with the series this year and introduce new things.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I must say, and it ties in, you know, this is the first time we've came back with this podcast in a while, is I've always felt like it's difficult with us being really ambitious in what we do and, you know, trying to put on with a series of events in schools and whatever. We try to do so much that sometimes things can get lost in translation.
Sure.
Or just lost in the mix of everything, how it is nowadays. So with this podcast, I hope people are tuning in or if people follow along social media, that things can become clear as to what we're doing. And I think, and I hope this podcast will help with that. And also transparency too, you know,
yeah. And
like complete and honest transparency, because to put it out there, we don't label this ourselves, but through the nature of what we do, we're labeled as community leaders. Right. And we do what we do from our hearts and for the love of it. But when you have a responsibility in a platform like that, then transparency is 100% necessary and key, right? Well, so the point that I'm trying to make is, you know, whether it's this podcast or the posts that we read, I want the efforts to be recognized that everything we do is done in an authentic and genuine way, to where if it's somebody who's competing or somebody who's spectating or a student at our school, 4-year-old student, a parent of that student or whatever it is, I want them to know what the intentions are, what the purpose is, what the vision is, what the next step is, what the previous step was before that.
Right.
Because that's important in really building an inclusive community, which is the topic we wanted to go over today with our special guest.
Yeah. Well, I think you said something very, very important. I said, you know, we're really ambitious in what we do. And I think that when people have concepts or ideas brewing, I don't think that if you don't have any ambition behind it, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we may be very ambitious, we may dream big, but I think that's what allows us to get to a point where we can execute closely to that and to be able to deliver a good product or a good event or a good service or whatever it is that Break Free does. So it's important to be ambitious. It's important to big dream. Most importantly, it's important to follow that and actually do it. Because I think there are a lot of people that, dream and want to do things and talk about doing things, but it's scary. And I know sometimes even talking about it now, I'm like, dang, I can't believe we did it. But we did it and we learned through it. There were some wins, some losses. But I think the bigger picture, it's a big win. It's a big win because any time you get a chance to learn with any new developments, it's more opportunity for growth.
Yeah, definitely. Through those wins and losses, on the topic of transparency, it's like through, again, this podcast or what we put on social media, in particular with the championship series, there's some changes that we have this year, right?
Right.
And this is an example of the progression from our desk and our perspective. We don't want to continue to do the same thing over and over and over. If we speak about results, and this is what jams and what breaking culture does organically, is like it creates moments. We speak about that at all of our events. So we created moments last year, right?
Absolutely.
But if I think about what we didn't see and what we want to see more, is we would like to see more inclusivity. We would like to see more value to the people who are competing. We would like to see more general public, to be specific. I think the culture in what we do is so captivating, so engaging, and so inclusive that there's no reason that, jams and competition shouldn't be composed of not just strictly breakers or just one gender or one demographic. It should be the world, because that's what it is.
The beautiful part about breaking culture, jams, competitions, whatever you want to call them, is that it unites our community, right? It's nice to see the faces that we're used to all the time. But in order for us to progress and grow, we need to see new faces. So I think that in the past, we've approached events from a breaker perspective and not from a general consumer perspective.
A worldly
perspective. And I think that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to bring in new people so they can familiarize themselves with our community, the growth of breaking, and what's happening with breaking, all these exciting things. And so it's important for us to introduce what we're doing to other people, not just breakers. Again, with that statement, it's not saying we don't care about the breaking community. We do this for the breaking community, but it's important for us to unify and reinforce this message of like, hey, in order for us to grow, we need everybody involved. We need new faces, new eyes, more hands and feet touching this environment for us to grow. And I think that's why I always talk about learning opportunities. So when you sit back and you kind of go through this overview review on what happened last year, you can go in and you can dissect, okay, what can we do better? And I really love the approach that we're taking this year with the series and what we want to talk about on this podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. I mentioned this special guest and all these kind of, let's call them keywords that we're touching on: inclusivity, on cultural roots, on everything that's of the essence of this culture. I think this guest represents that perfectly.
For sure.
And she actually, speaking on our universe and our series from last year, the awards were capped off 2021 in December. And our guest is actually a nominee and a winner of a category and some awards. Right. She was nominated for Mental Health Advocate of the Year presented by Providence Healthcare, and she actually won Breaker of the Year. So
that's amazing.
Joining us from Miami, Florida, Breakin MIA. What's up, Logistix? What's going on?
Sweet Lo.
How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm good. Thank you for having me here. I'm really honored.
Of course. Always gracious of your time and your energy, Lo. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, so, we are always, again, gracious and grateful for your time, but also your participation and your support. We're talking about the championship series last year, the debut of it, the 4 events we had. We were talking earlier, and we mentioned that you actually were a part of the series from two different perspectives, 2 different seats, a competitor and a spectator. So, I think you have a really authentic and genuine opinion and view on what the experience was last year. So I just wanted to start with that. I wanted to give you thanks, but also just wanted to ask, like, how did you like the series last year? What was the experience like at all the Breakthrough events that you went to?
Honestly, they were probably some of the most fun events I've ever been to in breaking. And I think a huge reason is because it was like you guys were really like a light in the time after COVID where we hadn't been able to like be with the community for so long. And so for me, I went to Space City Classic. Sorry about that. I went to Space City Classic with the boys, went to support Zeku since he was competing. And I just went as a spectator. I wasn't in the mode to compete. But it sparked so much inspiration and motivation in me because I don't know why, but it just felt like we gathered the community after a time that was actually very difficult for us. And I don't know, it felt more intimate and it felt like a smaller space, but it was still like, it felt very high level in terms of the talent. So, yeah. And honestly, I think the break free events were some of the only times I was able to bond with the USA younger breaking generation, which is something I'm very, very grateful for because I think before that I was more like on my own, training, traveling so much. But it was like, oh, I don't have my homies, you know, I'm not really like connecting with people. I'm like always around people older than me, which is still like, I'm still grateful for those experiences and those moments with these people. But it's nice that I get to bond with people like Valley and Marcus and Cullen and obviously Nels and Doug and Lynx and all these guys. So yeah, the break free events were like our reunion time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that was really, really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Lo. What I was gonna say is, you know, it was very special to see you guys come in and make yourself at home. A lot of times when we go to events, we get kind of cliquish. We kind of go to the corners. We get ready for these next battles, but something very special for me, and I want to just honor you guys today because I noticed this at every event you guys were a part of. You guys came in, made yourself at home, offered helping hands, competed, spectated, and all of the above. And you don't get that from a lot of people. And I thought those were very warm moments, very memorable. You know, Jeremy was talking about memorable moments. Those were memorable moments for me. Yeah. You guys were there when the event started, when the event ended.
Breaking down with us.
Yeah, breaking down, going out to eat with us. And I think that's what makes a community. It's not just about showing up to an event and being a part of the competition or being part of that environment. It's about actually building the camaraderie outside of our breaking environment that allows us to continue this passion and the growth of where breaking can go. And you know, you guys, you personally, along with everybody at Breakin MIA, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way because everywhere you guys go carry this like special warmth and light that unites people. You guys make it easy to be around, and just want to say thank you because you guys definitely brought that to every event you were a part of this year with us.
What sticks out, you mentioned Space City, right? You used the word reunion. For me, that was like the debut in the flesh of Breakin MIA, like the unit that y'all have.
Well,
now.
At that point, Jeremy, it was the debut of everybody.
Of everything. That's what I'm saying.
I think that was the first event that anybody had did that brought like face-to-face interaction again.
But I just remember like the support and the energy. Zeku was competing, you know, but you know, like everybody there, like just hype on the side. Like it was crazy. It was awesome energy, and I know that helped Zeku take down the dub there, you know, definitely.
For sure.
But that's something that sticks out to me is the energy that y'all brought, and that carried throughout the year. Y'all, you know, Breakin MA had a big year last year, and maybe that, like, I would love for you to speak on that, Lo. Like, share some perspective and specifics on the bond and the mission that you guys have down there at Breakin MIA.
Yeah, so it's crazy because I moved here 2 years ago, unexpectedly, and I think I always knew that Zek was here, and at the time they were called Surgeon. And I was like, damn, like the first thing I like to do when I travel is like connect with the community and see like what people are like building their tribes or building their thing out here. So I knew about Surgeon, and I just felt like they were already like open, just like welcoming me with open arms. And I don't know, I think that just kept me coming back. And it wasn't just that, but it was like how serious they are about breaking and how serious they are in addition to their bond and having fun. I'm just like, this is something I want to be around every day. This is the type of energy I need to be around. And it's not that I wasn't in that environment, it's not that I wasn't in an environment that I wanted to be in terms of like my crew, because I come from Underground Flow, which is like my home crew. But I felt like I needed a younger generation, younger brothers to build with that had the same ambitions. And so yeah, it was just like a perfect like fit, I guess, like just coming here every day. And that was during at the start of COVID, and then time kind of just flew by.
Yeah.
And I got closer to them. I got closer to each person here, and I started teaching and building, and I brought in like the choreo element to Breakin MIA, and they changed their name at some point. But everything kind of just happened so fast, and I felt like I kind of found my role after like maybe 6 months to a year of being with them. I really feel like I belong, like I belong somewhere. And I felt like a lone wolf for so long that I'm like, damn, this is a real team, and I feel like I get to build something with like my tribe. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and I will say I have to shout out Zek for sure, because he's a huge part of this thing that we're building and growing. And it's never like, there's always something to do. And I just love that we're also young, because they remind me to have fun. Like, they really remind me to enjoy and to be like, it's okay to like laugh, and like in the midst of the work and the hustle, like it's okay to like joke around, because that's like a huge part of like enjoying the grind, I guess. So yeah, it's dope. And they inspire me like obviously a lot as a breaker. Like they're just amazing. So,
and I think that's very, very important, when you talk about you guys being so young and motivating each other and supporting each other to do everything you got to do. You said there's always something to do, and that's the beauty about growing something. There's always going to be something to do. And if you're surrounded by a team that is so passionate, so motivated and inspired to keep that going, sky's the limit. It sounds so corny, but it's so true. One of the things that stood out to me this year when I traveled down to Miami for one of the Undefeated events, and I showed up early because I wanted to make sure that if Zek needed me for anything, I was there to support and, give my hands to help it as well. But the thing that stood out to me the most is that I showed up to this event and it was ran by everybody that was under 20 years old. I mean, the production, the seat assigning, everything that was happening at this event was by such a young, strong team. So when you talk about everything that you just mentioned, it's why you guys are where you are, and there's so much more room to accomplish and so many more things to accomplish, and it's kind of scary because you guys are so young and you guys have so much going on, and in the back of your minds you guys are never satisfied, and you guys are always going to go out there and kill it and accomplish whatever it is that you're looking for. So it's amazing to see, and it's a great thing that what you guys are doing out at Breakin MIA.
Yeah, it's so true. I think there is a really high standard for some reason, and again, shout out to Zek, because he definitely sets that tone for all of us. But intuitively, we all feel like, damn, like never settle. Like we always talk about these things, and it always tends to go back to like, how can we do better, and what do we want to do, what new things do we want to start. And we can all like, I can guarantee that anytime that I want to, like, if I have an idea that I want to build something with the gym, they're always going to support it genuinely, and so it's nice to have that support. And I think for me too, I bring in like just feminine energy, because it's like a bunch of guys, a bunch of boys. So yeah,
much needed.
Much needed for sure.
Just organized, clean, clean the bathroom and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you guys, Breakin MIA, is a great example of like, you mentioned the age. The age is an important aspect and something to highlight, but I just think as a unit, just take the age out of it, the age factor out of it. You guys have navigated the current breaking scene and the climate of the breaking scene in a great way, whether it comes to representing in competitions or educating or bringing culture to it, entrepreneurship. You guys have been able to, and going back to the age, it is probably in part of your youth, because we know how the landscapes change, whether it be in breaking culture or just culture in general, and the way modern society is.
Yeah.
What I'm getting to is breaking is different now than it was in the 2000s, different now than it was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's great. It's always great from someone like you, Logistix, who is from this current generation, right? And who is in this culture through and through, who lives it day to day. From your perspective, how do you view the current breaking climate? Like, where do you think it's going? What do you think about the direction? What do you think is maybe missing from your perspective? Because when these questions are asked, it usually, honestly, is answered by what's quote unquote OGs. The scene is missing this, or it used to be like this. I'm not looking at you more. I wasn't looking directly. But
sure.
What I'm trying to get to is, I would love from somebody like you, from your age, your generation, who's in this day to day. What is breaking like to you now? Maybe what's missing? What do you love about it? What's the current climate like for you?
I think right now it's a really crucial time because it's the time where we have to present ourselves to outside parties in a way where, like, how can we collaborate with them, and how can we, like what you were saying, Moy, unify? And I think we have a hard time doing that because we have gatekeepers, we have people who care about the culture so much, but you never know because they've been in it for so long. And I get it, people want something out of it if they've contributed so much, but I feel like this is a time where we have to communicate a lot between generations, and also be willing to learn new things, be willing to speak to people outside of this community, and within the community. I think both are very important. For me, I've spent a lot of time talking with everybody just because I do have a lot of experience with these opportunities where breaking is put in a spotlight outside of just battles. And so for me, I'm how I want to make sure I represent this thing in the most authentic and respectable way so that we're not losing that essence and that culture. But this is starting to happen to more and more breakers, especially in my generation. And so I feel like it's just a crucial time that we double down on the essence and culture, and also learn how to speak, learn how to communicate, learn how to just be willing to work with so many different kinds of people, brands, companies in a way that benefits our culture, benefits ourselves, and brings hip hop to people. Because in the end, this is a really important time where we have so much opportunity to bring hip hop into other people's lives, and that can help their lives. And I think that's sometimes what we forget, because we're looking at, what is missing from breaking, or what are these outside people trying to do to us? What are they trying to take? When we can look at it as an opportunity, because we don't know if we don't talk to them. We don't know if we don't communicate. So I'm grateful to have had these experiences really young, and now I'm just trying to talk to every person from every side to see what are you thinking, why do you think that way, and how can we all work together in this? Because it's not just going to be me with these opportunities. I want it to benefit everybody, and just the culture as a whole. So yeah, it's complicated. I this is on my mind a lot too, because I'm I don't know. There were times where I'm is breaking even ready for this? But yeah. I see people like you guys. I see myself in Breakin MIA. More people, Jilu getting signed by Nike. I'm also currently working with Nike. Kid Karam, just these. Yeah, I have hope and I have faith for our community. It's just, it takes trust, cooperation, and just we have to communicate these things.
Yeah, I think I 10,000% agree with you, but I think the one thing is, are we ready for this? It gives us no choice but to get ready and figure it out. And if we continue to think about, oh, we could do this better, we could do that, we're going to spend a lot of time procrastinating. You just got to do and learn along the way. It's okay to make mistakes. And I think that sometimes as B-boys and B-girls or artists in a community that's growing, we're fearful about losing opportunities. But if you're confident in your talent, your art, whatever that you want to call it, whatever it is that you're talented and confident about, there will always be an opportunity for you if you fully believe in it. And it's important to understand that the climate is changing and that there are a lot of opportunities happening. In the 90s and the early 2000s, there was always these sayings, these culture vultures, you're opportunistic, and, a lot of other things, a lot of negative things. And the difference now is that we have options now. People can go to Breakin MIA, parents can go to Breakin MIA and know that their kids have options within this extracurricular art form, sport, dance, or whatever it is that you want to call it, that there are options. 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, the options were limited. So we're going to be learning along the way, and then there are going to be some people that come into our environment or our culture that really try to take away, but we have to experience it. We have to learn from it and watch it and be careful, protect it, and grow it at the same time, right? Because regardless, that is happening to this day, even in the NBA, even in the MLB and the NFL. Those things still happen. But we, as artists, athletes, or whatever you want to call us, we have to make a conscious effort that we're making good decisions that will inspire and motivate the future generations. So I love that you really amplified the ideas behind creating a much more professional self, a much more creative, a much more confident self in the things that we do. And I love that you talked about that you grew up into that early as a kid, and now you're sharing it with the people around you at Breakin MIA and others that are inspired and look up to you on the daily. So that's extremely important. And I just want to say something, just kind of a general message, is that we can't be fearful of losing opportunities, but you can be thoughtful and conscious about the opportunities that are present and the ones that fit you and don't, and really ride that till the wheels fall off. Trust your gut in every opportunity that is presented to you. Not every opportunity is for you. And again, in this climate, more and more opportunities will continue to fall this way. We just got to be conscious and thoughtful about these opportunities and where we take them.
Damn. I need to write that down.
Yeah. Lo, it seems at a young age you've learned something really valuable, a realization within Breakin, but anything in life that I constantly have to remind myself and double down on. In the Breakin perspective, we, and I confidently can say, every single breaker out there knows what breaking feels like, right? We all know the feeling of breaking and the love that it brings to us. But through the day-to-day grind or through expectations, sometimes it feels like that love can be lost or be, take a back seat to other things. And I found that you always have to keep that, whether it's called essence or it's called love or it's called core, that feeling. That's the most basic way that I would put it, is that feeling of breaking. If you operate from that and you reinforce it with professional qualities, you reinforce it with hard work, you reinforce it with these pillars that you take them to any profession or any art form, it's what creates growth, it's what creates progress, it's what creates natural evolution. Like all these pillars, if you just reinforce that and have your foundation set with operating from love, then you or all of your team that you're with, you'll be able to take your art form and your love to that next level, yeah, right? For sure. And Lo, you mentioned like more than ever there's outside entities coming in or having eyes and giving visibility or having visibility to Breakin, right? And sometimes I feel like one thing that Breakin has done is we've relied too much on that. We breakers can rely too much on the cosign or rely too much on this outside entity to give value to what Breakin actually is. And this is the case for any art form. We've said things like MLB or the NBA. If it's basketball, basketball players and those who love basketball fully believed it, and they took ownership of it, and they didn't sit around in the waiting zone to have somebody fly in and reinforce that, And I think that's what it comes down to, whether it's the current generation, the next generation, or the older generation. We have to just rely that there's no better person or group or entity to give the value to Breakin but ourselves. And that's right. Through individual efforts, that's through group efforts. So there's so many examples out there, but I just think that needs to continue, and that's what everybody needs to operate from, and not be scared of it, not overthink it too much. We were talking earlier, Lo, about thinking too deeply or overanalyzing things, and that's human nature, especially for those who are empathic, and especially for those who care. You tend to overanalyze, say, are my intentions pure, or am I really, what is the effect that this is going to have? But nothing is perfect, and there's so many different people out there, but if we always operate from that feeling that we know is true, and you can't take that away, then I think things will eventually balance out.
Yeah, the crazy thing is we have the authority to create what we want. And the beauty about the climate change within breaking or any sport, if you take a step back and you look at what you see more in today's world of sports or entertainment, you see more actors, actresses, models, NBA players, Major League Baseball players becoming more entrepreneurs than they are athletes. Mm-hmm. And the importance in that is because, like what we're mentioning, Lo, is that there's always going to be people that are going to try and take from this environment that you're a part of. So the only way out of that is to go out and create your own and make it impactful for other people. Like Jeremy's saying, putting that value within ourselves, within this environment, and fully trusting it. That way people can always come to us instead of going to them. Mm-hmm. And that's extremely hard to do because, once again, as I mentioned a little while ago, is you feel like you're going to lose an opportunity. But if you fully trust and you're fully confident in what you're able to do, if one person came to you, somebody else will come back. Mm-hmm. And you just got to live up to it. You got to live up to it. And what I've seen this in the past 10, 15 years, seeing actors, actresses, and, athletes, world-class athletes leaning more on the entrepreneurial side than their artist or athlete side. They use that to leverage it and create more opportunities. But what that does, that starts to inspire way more people, that creates more opportunities, and more opportunities, not just for themselves, but for everybody else.
Yeah. Something I think on this note that's super relevant to you, Lo, is let me use first to set the stage, like you winning Breaker of the Year, to fashion this conversation where I want to bring up. In my opinion, I think breaking, first of all, like in the past years, of course, there's been this polarizing topic about sport versus art, or the hybrid of it, or whatever it is, right? Whatever you want to call it, I think breaking poses a very unique opportunity in a competitive sense and in a cultural sense, as far as like inclusivity and safe spaces even. Mm-hmm. To where men and women can coexist in all ways, whether it be in a competitive sense or, again, in a partying sense, in a safe way. I fully believe that, even if that hasn't been the case and there has been instances in the past where it's gone left or whatever, I do think, again, speaking of these core aspects of hip-hop culture and breaking, we have a unique opportunity, and I fully believe more than anybody, to really break down this boundary and this wall between men and women coexisting in all ways, right? You winning Breaker of the Year, again, is a really good example of that. There was other female nominees as well, but we did this at the award show. In the previous year, in 2020, we had B-boy and B-girl category. Along with the breaker category. Mm-hmm. And even in our event series, we had B-boy and B-girl bracket. And that's what everybody is accustomed to in breaking culture, is B-boy battles and B-girl battles, and separating it. And that's from, in my opinion, traditional perspectives of sport and competitions, is separating that. But again, I think breaking poses a unique opportunity. And it's through examples like, Lo, you being voted by the entire world the community Breaker of the Year, you winning countless battles. You beat. It's not just you, but there's so many dope B-girls around the world that hold their own in all aspects in this culture.
Absolutely.
So what I'm steering this conversation to is, I would love to hear your perspective on the fact that this year at our championship, we're taking. It might be a small initiative in the long term, or in the work that needs to be done, but we hope it can do its part in inclusivity and breaking down these walls. Is we're eliminating the B-boy, B-girl category. That doesn't. It's not going to exist at our events any longer, and it's just going to be breaker. So on this topic, I just would love to hear from your perspective, your your hopefulness of this inclusivity? Because I know there's a ton of work that needs to be done. Of course, it's not going to be fixed by just eliminating a category, you know?
Yeah, and doing an event.
Yeah,
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, but it's a small step, and we know how it works. Small steps lead to bigger things. But the question I wanted to just hear your perspective on this topic, Lo, on you being a woman in this culture, both competitively and culturally, and maybe your thoughts on this idea of breaking down that format and having just Breaker remain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just shows that you guys care, like, to be honest. And I've never felt anything different than that. Even with the separation, the thing is, maybe it's also because I've grown, like, used to it with other battles. I didn't even mind that either, because it does highlight us in a way as well, and gives us almost like a separate platform, which I also didn't mind. But with having... Wait, can you hear the background noise? Is it okay?
No, we're good.
You guys are good?
Yeah.
Okay. They're watching battles in the lounge. No, I think it's dope to have just Breaker, because it will, the audience, them seeing this instead of it being so separate, it'll allow them to view us as like we're part, like we're together, instead of it being like, oh, B-Girl is just a separate thing. And I've heard people be like, oh yeah, B-Girls, that's like more boring, like we shouldn't watch that. But the fact that you guys have us part of it, I don't think when I was watching BC1 this year, I mean also competing in it, I genuinely enjoy the B-Girl battles more than the B-Boys, and sometimes I enjoy the B-Boy battles more than the B-Girls. But I think it's good that you guys are combining it as just breaking battles and no separation, because it doesn't make people think that one is better than the other, or we should watch one over the other.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, like, you guys are doing that. But at the same time, I never felt that you guys didn't care either. So but yeah, I still applaud you guys for like continuing to make those changes, because it is important. I still to this day, like, we still face those things as like women in the scene. It is hard, but I'm seeing the changes, and even just you guys having me to speak and share here right now is an honor, and it helps a lot.
Yeah, and we appreciate you guys. I think even doing these events, whether we had the B-Boy, B-Girl category, or this now 2022 inclusive category, Breaker category, it's still difficult, and there's still going to be a lot of challenges along the way. And it's hard to make everybody happy. But as like Jeremy said, if we take the right steps, or that we believe and we're fully convicted that we're taking the right steps to do something, then that's something that we just have to fully trust. So not just yourself, but for anybody that's listening to this or tuning in, just be patient, trust us. And we always do something from a very genuine and good place of trying to be fair, be equal, and we're human beings. We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to run into obstacles, as I mentioned. And so it's a very tough road to take when you're making constant changes to elevate something, because when you're climbing a mountain and as you get closer, it becomes tougher because you get weary, you're tired. But the only thing that keeps you going is the motivation and the inspiration behind everything and finally getting to the top. So I think that we're, like Jeremy said, we're in a very unique situation or position to really position what we're doing to bring equal value to everybody. It's easy to say that breaking is a male-dominated dance, but is it? We don't know that. And I think that you winning Breaker of the Year solidified something different. And for me, it showcased that, women are very, very powerful in so many different ways. On the back end, of course, when we're producing the award show and all that, I'm not going to lie. If I have to be very biased right now on air, is to say this. I hope if a female, a B-Girl, wins this category, because it's going to speak volumes to the world of breaking. It's going to speak volumes to the world of B-Boys. That way B-Boys don't look at B-Girls in a less dominant way. And that's important for me, because I've had a lot of conversations with people where I'm like, she'll smoke you. She might smoke me, but
She will.
she will. Yeah, today. Yeah, because yeah. Let's not get to that. Anyways, but it comes from a place of like, it's important to create a platform and an initiative that drives equality, equal dominance in so many different ways. And I love that you, Lo, are a strong voice. And I know, Jeremy mentioned the age, but the age for me is important, because I remember being 17, 18, 19 years old and just being a b-boy that went to events that just only impacted from my dance. Mm-hmm. Yes, I had those unique opportunities where I did speak to some people and they were impacted by what I spoke, but I had very little time to speak. We didn't have the resources of social media, YouTube, and all these other things that allow us to create a voice for ourselves. So a lot of us in the early days, we bottled a lot of aggression, a lot of excitement, and all of the above. So it was hard to express what we wanted to voice. And so now to be so young and being around an environment of so many young entrepreneurs and powerful people, it's an amazing thing to see. So yes, age doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But when you have outside eyes or people that are like myself, I'm almost 40 years old, but if I'm influenced and I'm a fan of this culture, I look at you guys, I'm like, wow, they're so young, doing so much. I wish I did that at their age. And so that's where I look at the age thing. Even though it doesn't matter, to some people it does. And I'm one of those people where that it does. I know I've had these conversations with Zach all the time, and Zach always told me, he goes, man, I don't want you to look at it like that, because like everyone always tells me you have time. But I look at it like I don't have time. Yeah. And I get it. I understand where he's coming from. I feel like I don't have time, but I still have time. And that's a message in itself to everybody listening. So no matter where you are, whether you're 15 years old or 55, there's always time to do what you want to do. And I love that you guys are ambassadors and leaders for this young, entrepreneurial, powerful spirit that brings enlightenment to the world of breaking.
Thank you for that. That's crazy, because with the age thing, I feel like I'm just now realizing that I have time. I think it's because I've been going since so young. I always had, big dreams and faster than I thought. And that's a curse and a blessing at the same time, because it's like, yes, I'm able to really work for these things and really accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. But I remember at some point in my young years, I felt like I was rushing so much and I wasn't enjoying myself. And so there's definitely a balance. But to hear that I have time, it also allows me to enjoy it and then still balance it with the hustle, because I enjoy the hustle. I enjoy working and getting stuff done every day and knowing that I'm making progress to where I want to be. But yeah, it's crazy, because I was just thinking about that with the age thing. Like yesterday we had a meeting with Zach and all the boys, and he was talking about this year's undefeated events. And I'm just like, damn, that's crazy. And then we're thinking like, oh, well, we're 18. He's about 4 or 5 years older than us, so it makes sense. And so it's like we do have time, and it's okay if we're not there tomorrow, because it takes time to develop really great things.
I've always and said then
that, go ahead.
I've always said that progression is just being a little bit better than you were yesterday. A lot of people always want something so big to happen so quickly. But if you're just a little bit better every day, it'll add up. Whether it takes 2 months or 2 years or 20 years, you'll get there.
Yeah, and then it makes me more patient, because I think my generation has a hard time with that. And also seeing you guys build these things, it's like, I think another reason why we are doing these things so young is because y'all have built for us to be able to accomplish these things at a faster rate. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong too.
Thank you.
But I feel like we have more resources now than y'all did before when y'all were our age. And I think with these resources and this time, which it's more progressive than before, I feel like there's an expectation of like we should be building these things now because we have what we need, and then it goes the same for like whoever comes in the future. I feel like they're gonna do even greater things, and so I'm a firm believer in that, and that it just keeps going with the generations, and I want to see people do better things than I do. I mean, obviously, I'm still in a competitive mindset. I'm still young, but when I am older, I want to see people beat me. Not now. I'm still like I want to do things, and I'm still striving for my best right now, and I'm always going to be. But in terms of competition, like I know and I believe and I would hope that B-girls, B-boys, people after me are going to do better things than me, and I hope it just keeps going,
Yeah. No, I know you gave us a lot of flowers and you applauded us low, but from myself and more from everyone Break Free, I have to give you your flowers for being the representation that you are, and for doing things, along every single pillar that I think composes Breakin. I think you touch all aspects of it, whether it's as a competitor or as a champion of inclusivity and breaking down barriers, from you smoking B-boys to being a part of an all-boy business at Breakin MIA and bringing light to that. So much love. We got love for you, Logistix, so and we're always gracious of all your artistry and your work and your time with us here on the podcast.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
For sure. Any last words? Any last shout outs? Or you mentioned people you want to smoke. I think you said that right. So you can.
Yo, I want to smoke myself every day.
That's dope.
From my past selves. But no. Like, man, I really like what you were talking about with believing in yourself and presenting yourself in a more professional and confident way, and building here first instead of like always relying on these outside things. Because I got reached out recently with like bigger opportunities, and I'm finally like, now I think in the past year or two I'm realizing that, and it's a crazy mind space to be in, because it's like this growing and this really strong sense of like self-belief and value, and I would want all breakers to experience this, because I think it's like as throughout this podcast I'm like, damn, that's what we need in this time right now, is like really believing in ourselves and to build here, so that when these people do reach out, we already have something going and they don't have to take the lead because they don't know anything about breaking. We do. So yeah, that was really inspiring, and it just reminded me like, damn, okay, whether I take these opportunities or not, if I'm just going to keep building myself up to be prepared for these things moving forward, then it'll be good. But I just wanted to mention that, honestly, for myself too, because it's like, damn, that's a really great thing to remember in this
beautiful
time.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I know you mentioned shout outs, just Breakin MIA, Underground Flow, Miami, San Diego, the whole hip hop community. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, Lo. You already know we're gracious of your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and we'll
thanks,
see you
Lo.
soon. I'm sure we'll see you in Houston or Miami soon. So
I'll actually see you this week, I think.
Oh, for real? When?
We'll let that be a surprise.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Lo.
Okay.
all right, Lo. See you later. Much love.
Much love.
Peace.
Cool. I think we can end like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're straight. That was great. That was a great
that
flow.
was good.
Thank you, Lo. Appreciate it.
Guys.
Hope it was hope it was enjoyable for you.
Oh my god, it just glitched and that was so scary.
What was it? Was you stopping the recording?
It just...
No, it's still on.
Yeah, great. I hope it was enjoyable for you. That was dope. It was a great convo.
Yeah, it was good. I also learned a lot, and it's so like, it's true everything you guys were saying, because I'm about to like turn down these opportunities, and this was like the confirmation of like I'm making the right decision, because I don't necessarily, I'm gonna obviously still like process these, but I've been speaking with my manager, and it's just like, I don't need, like, it's a China like TV show and like a UK film, and I'm just like, what do I want to do, and what would benefit the most, you know? It's like I can do these things to like get exposure, but that's not my ultimate goal, and that those will come over time. So
exactly,
yeah, I learned a lot.
Exactly. You'll make the right decision. You always do.
For sure, 100%.
For sure. Thank you.
All right, Lo, take care.
Talk to you soon.
You too. Talk to you guys soon.
Peace. Do we gotta film an intro?
There's a lot of good parts. That was a good flow.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Remember when we had that thrifted camera that we used for our very first podcast?
That was yours, bro.
Yeah,
you wanted to film that way.
Hey, it worked for the time being. All leads up. Baby steps.